Yes, we
Good.
are.
All right. All right. It looks like we are live. So I want to welcome everyone to the June 18th, 2020 regular meeting of the Franklin City Public School Board. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. I move that the school board, having been in closed session pursuant to a proper motion, come out of closed session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Shelton, Ward 5, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. Aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. Do we have a certification of our closed session?
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3. Whereas the Franklin City School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Franklin City School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Andrea Shelton, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Again, moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. Aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. We have a certified session. Next up is motions from closed session. I believe the only item we had was a personnel agenda. Do we have a motion in regards to that?
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. Move to approve the personnel agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. Aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. Next up is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ms. Moore has been so great to have a flag there for us, and I did bring one just in case to be prepared. So if all of you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands,
one
One
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
All right. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3. I move for approval of the agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Williams, Ward
Shelton.
4.
We have a motion and a second, a couple seconds. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays have the same opportunity.
Adjuster, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3. Aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4. Aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. Our agenda is approved. Next up, we have roll call. Ms. Moore, would you be so kind as to do our roll call for us?
Sure. Rebecca Jester,
Present.
Amy Phillips,
Present.
Dr. Andrea Hall Leonard,
Present.
Marshall Williams,
Present.
Dr. Shelton,
Present.
Carrie Johnson.
Present.
Right. Next up is citizens time. Ms. Moore, did we have anyone sign up or send anything in?
No, ma'am.
All right. So that brings us down to item number 3, which is our consent agenda. We have lots of items in there. Of course, it's end of the year, so we're getting ready for that transition over to July 1. So we're going to start with Ed Mentum, and we'll briefly go through them. That is software that's used at the high school, so that's our annual renewal for that. Up next is Power School. That's also an annual renewal. Up next is RDA, and that's, I apologize. I should have been giving you purchase order numbers. Ed Mentum was 20-799. Power School was 20-800. RDA is 20-835, and that is server maintenance. Our annual service for our servers. That's a tongue twister. Next up is 20-838, and that is for the baseball field scoreboard, replacement of that. Up next is 20-842. That is for uniforms for the football team. And just so that everyone is aware, this isn't the only sport that we're looking at replacement of uniforms for. It just so happened we had all the football at one time. So of course, to be fair, and Title IX, we are looking at all other sports as well. So just wanted to put that out there. So if someone saw that this was just football, they didn't think that that was the only thing that we were looking at. So it just so happened this one is specifically for the football, and we are still compiling the rest of those sports for that submission. Next up is 20-843. This is to RK Chevrolet. This is actually for driver's education vehicles. I don't know if anyone has seen our driver's ed vehicles, and I know fellow board members, you guys are aware that we have a inventory list of the division vehicles. Somehow the driver's ed vehicle was left off, and the driver's ed vehicle is on the verge of being a Fred Flintstone vehicle. So it was more than time to replace, and Mr. Phelps had brought that to our attention. So we looked at it and got an amazing deal on these vehicles. So we will be replacing the driver's ed vehicles, which will come in handy now that we have a driver's ed instructor.
Right.
So next up is 20-852 to BN Sports as well. This is the other invoice for uniforms. So this is for our other sports. Next up is 21-002. This is to Chesterfield County Public Schools. This is the tuition for our 4 students that go to Appomattox Regional Governor School. And that tuition is $8,055 for the upcoming year per student. Next up is Pocket Nurse. And Dr. Sterling, please correct me if I am wrong, but this is items for our nurses aid program for that more or less lab, the room that we have for that. This is to bring us into compliance, and this is being paid for out of Perkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Go
And
ahead.
right here it says federal program CTE. Yes, all that's for the nurses aid program.
So this is to bring that program up to where it needed to be compliant and meet the requirements for CTE, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, next up is federal programs. This is all of our grants for approval. They were submitted for first reading at our last meeting. So we've got the summary here, and of course, all of the grants are attached. So we've got Title I with no changes. We've got Title II, which does have a few changes. Title III has no changes. Title IV is there's some changes in regards to professional development. And then Title V, there's some changes as well, very similar to changes in Title II. Next up is the Vsba policy updates, which we received at the last meeting as well for first reading. All changes were indicated. We have attached both the summary of those changes as well as the actual policy, so you can see the changes in the policies. Of course, all additions are underlined, all removals are strike throughs, and anything that is reflective to where there is something else that needs to be done or another policy that is impacted by that change, that's all what's highlighted. And there's a lot there. And lastly is the Virginia High School League membership application for 2020-2021. One thing I did want to point out, because I did have a question as well as another board member had a question about, if you notice, it looks like there are some sports that are missing. For instance, softball, baseball, soccer, track, tennis, robotics. The reason why those sports are not included, the way the VHSL membership payment works is you're paying a year behind. So what we're paying for right now is the sports that we actually participated in and actually were able to do last year. So if you recall, spring sports were canceled. So because we never really got a season for those, we don't have to pay for those. So that's why you don't see those listed there. We will participate in them this year. It's just that we don't have to pay for them because we're paying right now for what we did last year. I hope that clarifies. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have questions. I noticed that the grants, I believe the deadline for submission is July 1. So my question is whether or not these grants have actually been mailed. And if so, if they have not, would the division, would the names of the coordinators change? And I noticed at the end, we would need a superintendent's signature and board chair signature. And I'm referring specifically to Title II, Title III, and Title V.
All right. So with that, Dr. Sterling, for Title II, Dr. Branch is listed as the coordinator for that. For Title III, Anita Harris is listed as the coordinator for that. And for Title V, Dr. Branch is listed for that one as well. So would those change on the submission?
Yes, ma'am. They will change during the submission, but we can go ahead on and approve them because we are in the process of interviewing and hiring. The superintendent's name would go in that spot.
Okay, so then my question is, Mrs. Phillips, when we approve the consent agenda, would we, since this is all under consent agenda, would we approve the consent agenda with those changes to those particular grant applications?
Okay.
I'm
My, su-
asking.
my suggestion would be that we pull that from the consent agenda and vote on that separately.
Okay,
Of course, a
yes,
motion would have to be made for that.
okay,
I would suggest pulling that and voting on that separately. And then when we vote on that, we would vote, we would motion with a change to the coordinator listed on the Title II, Title III, and Title V grants.
got you. Thank you.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
I move to pull 3.10 federal programs grants for approval from the consent agenda.
Okay. So we're pulling 3.10 from the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. All right, so we've pulled that one from the consent agenda. Do we have a motion in regards to the remainder of the consent agenda?
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Carrie Johnson, I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. So since we have pulled 3.1, do we have a motion in regards to item 3.10?
This is Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3. I move to approve federal programs and grants with the change to coordinators listed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries as well. Next up is the report of the superintendent. Dr. Sterling, do you have anything to share with us?
Yes, I have a special request from the board regarding our recruitment and retention. As you know, as we begin the school year, we are heavily looking forward to hiring teachers that can teach dual enrollment and support advanced classes. Within the last 2 years, we have worked diligently with J.P. King to redesign that entire program. It currently offers between 6 to 7 high school courses to move our students onto a dual enrollment advanced placement track. In order for that to be successful, we need to be able to hire more dual enrollment teachers to the division. This also will support our students and families because it will cut the cost of our of our families having to pay 50% of the tuition, which we know has caused a great deal of hardship for some of our families that do want their students to attend dual enrollment courses. But if we had additional dual enrollment teachers, then we would easily absorb that cost, and the cost of dual enrollment would be little to none. So with that said, I'm requesting that the board please approve a stipend recommendation for dual enrollment teachers. A stipend of $5,000 per year as a supplement, additional to their salary for the for the fall, spring semesters for courses taught. They could teach between one course, two courses, or an entire load. It does not matter, but for the entire year, they would only receive one supplement. High school courses, we have teachers now that teach Algebra 1 and geometry only because they have a special endorsement, but they're at the middle school. We would like to have science teachers that are endorsed in high school courses as well to be able to teach at the middle school level. But to have people come and retain them, we really would like to support them with an additional supplement. So the high school course for certified and endorsed teachers would be $4,000 a year for the fall and spring semesters that they teach the courses. That is the superintendent's recommendation, and I'm asking for board approval to add the 2 additional supplement stipends to the 2021 supplemental stipend list.
Dr. Sterling, this is Andrea Holland at Ward 3. My question is about how many teachers are we looking at?
Currently we have 1. Now that your board graciously, and I want to thank you, have approved the personnel list, we have 2. We are looking to recruit a history dual enrollment teacher and an English dual enrollment teacher. What that means for Franklin High School, it makes us a solid partner with Paul D. Camp to participate in their passport program, which requires students to obtain, which allows students to obtain 16 credits. They can take those courses anywhere in the state of Virginia, and they will be accepted. There are 2 exceptions that I know about, and that's William and Mary and James Madison, and there's only 1 or 2 courses that they won't accept. However, if we do this, that means the majority of our students that go through this program, we're looking for at least 50% of our students to have this opportunity because we're so small, will be able to complete their first year of college at almost no cost.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Sterling, how many does this impact at the middle school level?
How many does this impact at the middle school?
Mm-hmm.
At this time, we have 1 teacher that one teacher that it impacts. You have also the Spanish teachers that it impacts because we count it as a high school credit. So that's all we have at this time. It won't affect the +1 because they already receive an after-school supplement to teach that additional block. So it won't affect them. So it will only affect 2 teachers at the middle school. But we are looking for an environmental science or earth science teacher to come in and continue to have beef up our STEM program at the middle school.
And Dr. Sterling, this is a Holland Ward 3 again. My question is the program, I believe, that's spearheaded by Mrs. Burkhalter with the college. Now, are some of those teachers in that same program with her?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Those teachers are primarily new teachers.
New teachers. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
This is Miss Johnson. Is this a supplement that they would receive once in the fall and once again in the spring, or is it just once for the entire year?
Thank you for asking that. Once for the entire year.
Okay.
We currently do have on staff, I want to give the board this information. We do have on staff one teacher who is being vetted at this time with his history credentials. So we would really be looking for an English teacher, and if he gets fully endorsed, we would be looking for an English and finalize a history teacher. Then we would have 4 teachers that are able to teach dual enrollment courses at Franklin High School.
Dr. Sterling, this is Paul Leonard, Ward 3 again.
Yes,
My other question would be in reference to looking at the budget and from the financial director's perspective. Is this money already there? Do we just have extra funds to be able to put this in, or what line item is this coming from?
Yes, ma'am. The money is already there, and I do budget for dual enrollment. However, if we don't have to pay for the courses, we don't have to pay the large percent that we were paying last year for people that were not endorsed. Therefore, we actually receive money back when Ms. Britt teaches the pre-calculus class. So when you don't have students that have to pay the 50%, and then we're not kicking out the additional 50%, it's a win-win for everyone. But to answer your question, yes, ma'am, the money is there.
Okay, and so then my next question would be, because I think this is a good idea personally, but my next question would be, are we not planning to have students enroll in Tidewater Community for the Vanguard program? Are we just basically phasing that out, or would we have students enrolled in dual enrollment with Camp Community in addition to also having students participate in Vanguard?
Yes, thank you. Our Vanguard program is our flagship program in engineering for your associate's degree. The Passport program is almost like a year 13, which completes your first year of college. So we have 2 different programs going on. However, a Vanguard student will have to take the same classes that a Passport student takes, so they will receive their 1-year certificate as well. So we're not phasing that out, no ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, what happens, this is Mr. What happens in the instance that there aren't students for a class, for a teacher, for dual enrollment? Like, let's say in the fall, there are students available to take a dual enrollment science class, but in the spring, there isn't. Does the teacher get the full stipend, or is it split up 2,500, 2,500?
Well, that hasn't been our problem, but it does have a split. Thank you for that. It is a split, 2,500 in the fall, 2,500 in the spring. They don't receive it all at once. However, if their courses are year long, then of course we would give them that supplement at one time. But at this time, that does not look like a problem at all, that we won't have the students. We have the students, we just did not have the teachers. And unfortunately, our families and the division did not have the financial means to supplement full price, to pay 100% for our students. But with this route, we will be able to support our students, as many that want to go through as possible.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But we do want, this is Hall Leonard, Ward 3. We do want to support our students in being able to achieve these associate's degrees or certificates before graduation, as many as possible. So I do appreciate you, Dr. Sterling, with bringing this to the school board. Appreciate your recommendation, because it has been a hardship, like you said, for many of the families. They just have not been able to pay for it. And some of the students have worked hard, worked jobs. Some have, tried to raise money to be able to take these courses. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other? Go ahead, Dr. Sterling.
I do apologize. And I think the board knows, and if they don't, I want to make certain that they know this data. At FHS, Mr. Phelps has well over 55 to 60% of our students graduating on advanced diploma tracks. So again, we have well over half of our students that can actually graduate with a one-year certificate with college completion, and that could passport them anywhere in the state of Virginia.
And Dr. Sterling, how many did we have this year with the certificate?
If I'm not mistaken, I think we only had one.
We had one. Okay, so we definitely want to increase those numbers.
Yes, and I get a little excited, let me calm down, only because you have so many students that are coming into FHS with a completion in geometry, a completion in algebra, completion in Spanish 1, Spanish 2. Now they're looking at environmental science. You have PE 9 and Art 1. So you have a full senior year and a full junior year to actually dedicate to your collegiate studies. So it will, I would think in the next 2 to 3 years can be a wall-to-wall early college, non-traditional high school at FHS. And that includes CTE as well.
Any other questions or comments or discussion in regards to the additional stipend additional supplemental stipend proposal? Hearing none, do we have a motion in regards to this?
Andrea Shelton, I move that we approve the additional supplemental stipend request.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Carrie
Second.
Johnson, I second.
I got a few. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course nays have the same opportunity.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that. We're very excited to expand this program. Thank you, board members. Next, yesterday, I met with the administrative teams, central office personnel, and we are in the beginning stages of looking at the guidance from Dr. Lane for the phased reopening of Virginia schools, which is called Recover, Redesign, and Restart 2020. I just want to share with the board, we are in the process of developing a survey for our students as well as our families, because our students have their anxieties as well, and we want to make certain that there's a platform for them to address them. We will also be developing a webinar for our families where I come on and provide them with information about the reopening and the restart of the new school year. We are in phase 2. And there are specific things that we have to do, especially when it comes to health screening for our students in phase 2, as well as phase 3. But I would like to share with the board publicly, though we are in phase 2 and phase 3, I think it is very, very important for us to go slow before we go fast. This pandemic is something that has blanketed the United States and the world, actually. And I don't want to rush our students getting back to class without making certain that we cover all areas to protect our students and our families. So we're looking at plans that have a phase-in process that work with virtual, some A/B days, and then phase into full days. But in order to do that, I need to hear from the community. I need to hear from our parents and our students. So that, again, that plan is in the beginning phases, but our health and safety of our students, our community, our teachers, our administrators, and everyone that works with FCPS. That is our priority, to make certain that when they come to school, they leave well when they leave school. Are there any questions on that?
So Dr. Sterling, call Leonard Ward 3. With that said, do you plan to, does the division plan to create a survey so that you receive feedback from parents and community stakeholders?
Yes, ma'am. We are going to create a survey, and it will be one survey that will address all 3 levels.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions in regards to the phase-in plan? Anything else, Dr. Sterling?
No, Madam Chairwoman, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right. Moving next, we have no unfinished business listed, and we also have no new business listed. So that moves us down to item number 7.1, business by school board members. Does anyone have anything to share with the board?
Seven point one, upcoming events. Did we not have any?
I don't see any listed, Ms. Moore. Do we have any upcoming events?
Not at this time.
I think what I was referring to, Mrs. Phillips, was I think you sent an email polling the board in reference to a time to meet with Vsba in possibly August.
That was actually scheduled. Yeah, we talked about that, and there was an email sent back out to everyone in the board that the date was, I'm pulling up my calendar. Friday, August the 7th.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock.
Yes. Okay, and yes, this is Hall Leonard, Ward 3. Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. I want to appreciate Mrs. Amy Phillips as our chairman of the board, for your kind words shared with me in a recent email. And in your email, Ms. Phillips, you did ask that if I would like to share my personal statement with the board, you gave permission to do so. And so I would like to do that on this evening. I will definitely miss this Franklin City School Board. It has been an honor to serve on the Franklin City School Board and partner with the school board governance team, Franklin City School Division, that includes our families, students, community stakeholders. And I do remain diligent in supporting efforts for sustainability, student achievement, and the implementation of policies to ensure equity and equality. Some of you have asked a question in reference to the terms for my term as school board member. So I will quote directly from the ordinance number 2004-16. The term of office of members on the school board shall be for 3 years, commencing on the first day of July of the year appointed, and vacancies shall be filled for unexpired terms in the same manner as original appointments. No person shall be eligible to serve more than 3 consecutive terms, provided that persons appointed to fill vacancies may serve 3 additional consecutive terms. As a member of the school board, I am grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to serve in the following capacities from 2014 to the present, with a break in service in November 2016 during the school board reorganization. I've served as school board member, twice as the vice chairman, chairman, and interim chairman. On behalf of the school board, I've also served as the representative to CSEP Joint Board, Governor's School of the Arts Joint Board, HRETA Education Advisory Committee, Western Tidewater Early Childhood Collaboration, and member of the Virginia School Boards Association, and various other committees, including Franklin City Public Schools, Bright Stars Advisory, and Gifted Advisory Committees. Recently, I was honored to be awarded, along with Mrs. Phillips, the VSBA Award of Distinction during the VSBA convention in November 2019. To the best of my ability, I have advocated for students and families, helped lead the school division gracefully during challenges. I am most pleased with the academic progress of our students and how students have taken ownership of their data, and having teachers and administrators who see value in our students and add value to them. As I am most willing to continue to fulfill my responsibility as a school board member for Ward 3, currently school board vice chairman, until my term expires, I am not seeking reappointment for a new term. Although it is my desire to remain committed to serving leadership, my role as wife and mom takes priority at this time. It is my desire, I want you to know, to see Franklin City Public Schools continue to move forward in serving students and families and remain dedicated to delivering excellence. Congratulations to our students, families, school administration, and school division leadership on recent promotions and high school graduation during a very tumultuous time, which includes mandatory school closure due to COVID-19 and the upheaval of our nation as we seek to find solutions to eliminate systemic racism. Special thanks to community stakeholders and Franklin City Council for support of the school division and our governance team, and to the governance team specifically, which includes the division school board and division superintendent, Dr. Tamara Sterling. Lastly, special thanks Franklin City Public Schools, senior cabinet members, administrators, teachers, and staff of Franklin City Public Schools. Continue to be the difference and make a difference daily. If you can't, in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I wish the school division the very best. And I want to say to Franklin City School Board, I have enjoyed working with you ladies. That includes Mr. Holt as a school board liaison. Dr. Tamara Sterling, wishing you the best in your endeavors and continue to move the school division forward. Mrs. Jester, I will see you. I guess the both of us will be on the sidelines. And so I will continue to try to volunteer in the schools and do whatever I can to help. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sterling. You're going to make, excuse me, Dr. Hollander, you're going to make me grab out tissues. You got me all flustered now.
And listen to Mrs. Moore. I want to say, Mrs. Moore, I hope I don't send you an email asking you for something. She'll probably say, Dr. Holland, you don't need to do that anymore. But thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Jester, I want to give you an opportunity as well. And for the public's knowledge, if you were not aware, Dr. Hall Leonard and Ms. Jester's terms are both up come June 30th, and both of those are not seeking reappointment. So we are going to very, very, very much so miss them on the board. So Ms. Jester, I want to give you an opportunity as well.
Well, I would like to say that it has been very much a privilege to serve with all of you and to do all that we can to help propel Franklin City Public Schools forward. It's been a tremendous journey for the last several years, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. And I know there are lots of new challenges that the division is facing, and I know that they will come out the other end with a great performance. And to all of you, thank you again for your support and your willingness to work together along the way, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything to add? I've got, believe it or not, I'm going to add to the tissues a little bit, but I'm going to go off in a little bit of a different direction. First, I'm going to shake it up because I'm going to make us dry our eyes first. So I just wanted to update the board, and this is from Mr. Holt. He actually had a meeting yesterday, and Dr. Holt Leonard, you will appreciate this, with Chief Patterson, Mr. Phelps, Ms. Harris Muhammad, Joelle Dennison from the Richmond Justice Initiative, and Lisa Kersey from the Virginia Beach Justice Initiative concerning human trafficking. There was a discussion about the prevalence in this area, which they feel it's not as much of an issue here in our area as it is in others. And of course, human trafficking is one of those things you don't really know how bad it might be, because you don't know about it until you have a victim, and you don't know about the victim until there's a legal issue going on. But they felt like it was not as prevalent of an issue here. And there are discussions on how to include that and integrate that into our curriculum from the middle school level up through high school. So there's yes, I knew you would appreciate that.
Yes,
So I wanted to get that in before you left us.
Thank you so much.
So, but it was my understanding of very, very nice and open conversation, and a great start to looking at some open discussions for our students as well, so that hopefully we can help them understand what that is and how that can impact them. So I wanted to share that. Now we're going to transition back, now that I've got everybody to kind of take a breath and dry the tears a little bit. So first off, I wanted to start by, because we've not had an opportunity to do that yet, I wanted to start by thanking our student representatives over the past year. We switched it up this year, and we had a different student representative for each month up until COVID took us out of chambers. So I wanted to thank each of them for reporting out for the board and the community on all the great things that have been happening within Franklin City Public Schools. I also want to congratulate each one of them, because they were all seniors on their graduation, and wish each of them success in everything the future may hold for them. All right, so next up, now these are going to be hard for me. So I'm going to start with Dr. Hall Leonard. I want to, again, and I know I sent you that email on a personal note, but as the chair of the school board, I want to publicly thank you for your commitment to the betterment of each and every child within the city limits of Franklin City and beyond. Even though we have all been through turbulent times with the school board, your dedication has shown, and your commitment to the students has always remained steadfast. And I want to thank you for that. We have all, and I'm going to transition into Ms. Jester next. We have all been through a lot together on this board. We came in at probably the school division's very worst, and have worked really hard to move beyond that. We have been like a family in many ways. And we all know families don't always get along, but we've always got each other's backs. And I feel like that has been, that we have been that way with both of you on the board. So I want to thank you both. And Ms. Jester, you stepped up and stepped onto the board at the same time I did. And we both stepped in at a time when nobody wanted to be a part of that, and nobody wanted to help clean that mess up. But you willingly stepped up and said, that's okay, I'll roll up my sleeves and I'll help get this done. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for all that you've done to move the school division forward. You have been such an invaluable asset to the board, especially when it came to looking at finances and moving the division where we needed to be as far as finances were concerned, because we know that had been a troubled spot. I don't feel like we could have done that without your expertise and your input. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your commitment. You didn't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. There were no kids in the division. You were just a member of the community that felt impelled to take a step forward and do it for the betterment of the school division and the city. And I thank you so much for your service to the board.
Thank you.
So now that I'm trying to hold these back, and that's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to, if anybody else has anything they would like to say or add, or for the good of the board, I'll open the floor up as well.
I would like to say that I believe we have, and I don't want to get this incorrect, so I'm probably going to lean towards Dr. Sterling to help, but I believe there's history made this school year with Franklin High School and the valedictorian. Dr. Sterling, am I correct?
I'm not certain. What are you referring to?
The valedictorian, I believe they were doing some research to see if Mr. Myron Barrett is the first African-American male to become valedictorian of Franklin City Public
Okay,
Schools.
all right.
So I'm asking, is that correct?
That was not shared with me. But I tell you what, if you give me 30 seconds, I will confirm that.
Okay, well, please confirm it. I thought
Yes,
it would be
I'm
nice to
doing it right
mention
now.
that. Well, as she's looking for that, the governor, for many of you that are watching, as I am, trying to catch every time he's live, he talked about Juneteenth observance as a state holiday for tomorrow. So would like to commend all of our staff, that they, staff and city workers, that they will be able to have that day as a holiday, but it is really significant for African Americans. And so when I thought about Mr. Barrett, I said, it would be most appropriate to mention that. And the only other thing I will mention, lastly, for Chairman Phillips, is I did mention before, and you said that the board will discuss the possibility, and as long as it's not a conflict with separation of church and state, that we consider our faith, especially at a time like this. And I even noticed with Governor Northam, he included faith in some of the press conferences, and he had a minister to speak this week. And I believe I shared with the board at our last meeting that if some way, even before board meetings, or maybe the board can consider a chaplain, or just maybe board members may consider rotating, having a prayer. We've done it a couple of times before on the National Day of Prayer, but to make sure that Franklin City Schools is covered. A lot of times ministers will reach out to pray at the beginning of the school year, but this entity, Franklin City Public Schools, is very near and dear to my heart. And we want to make sure that our leadership, our teams, the school board members, as we're working with parents, community stakeholders, and also for our families, for those that are believers, that they are covered. They're covered in prayer. And so I just wanted to leave those words. And then, of course, that will be the board's decision. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So, Dr. Sterling, I don't know if you found any.
Dr. Hall Leonard, that's
yes.
One thing I will definitely miss about you. You will not forget. Your memory is long, and I appreciate you, and Ms. Jester as well. But yes, the gentleman was the first African-American male. We have had females, but you are correct. This is a historic moment at FHS. He is the first.
Thank you so much for confirming that. Thank you. And congratulations to Mr. Myron Barrett. Congratulations.
That's what I was going to ask you if you would do that, Dr. Hall Leonard.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right. Anything else for the board? Hearing nothing else. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Shelton.
I would like to thank all of you for your support and your understanding and your assistance in my acclimation to this wonderful position as a board member.
You are welcome, Dr. Shelton.
You have been a great addition to the board. I will say that. And I don't think we have publicly recognized. So if the board will indulge me, Dr. Shelton, congratulations on becoming Dr. Shelton.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Dr.
Yes.
Shelton. Milestone. And I don't know if we ever publicly acknowledged Dr. Sterling. We just began to say Dr. Sterling. but I don't know if we ever publicly said congratulations, Dr. Sterling. So congratulations, Dr. Sterling, as well.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Dr. Holland, and I appreciate it. Okay.
All right, board members, anything else? Well, Dr. Hall Leonard, since you were vice chair, I am going to recuse myself of my duties as chair right now, and I would like for you to take over and lead us in the final motion of the night, if you would indulge me.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Chairman Phillips. So at this time, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Andrea
Marshall Williams,
Hall Leonard,
Ward 4,
Ward 3.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all in favor?
Rebecca Jester, Ward 1, aye.
Andrea Hall Leonard, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
all have a
Right,
good
everybody.
evening. Wish you all the best. Have a good evening.
Aye.
Have a great evening.
You
Good
too.
evening.